Okay, what do we got here?
We got some new equipment. Got these from a friend in Kodiak. These are called Kachemacs, like locally in Alaska. Down south, they're Bandit machines.
Bandit reels on Google.
Bandit reels.
You'll see them come up.
They're made by Waterman Industries, is who manufactures them. And then, yeah, they're kind of like, depending on your location, I guess, they kind of have different regional names. So these are the machines that we use for jigging. So this is the stand they come with, but we're not going to use the full length one. This would be mounted to your deck, and then you could attach it to the rail or whatever. This one's a 24 volt model, 3rd horsepower, Scotty motor. Oh yeah, I wonder how old these actually are. What's this newspaper say? April 16th, 2011.
Oh yeah, wow. 14 year vintage.
Yeah, they've been in this box all that time, just waiting for their chance. Other than just a little bit of oxidation on that end cap, they're good. We're going to replace these with some PVC caps, and that way we can put a watertight gland on them like we did with our others. So yeah, so these are Scotty 24 volt, 1150 RPM, pulls about 9 amps. So the difference between 24 volt and 12 volt is if you had a similar 12 volt, it'd be pulling about 18 amp, about double the amperage. So these are a little bit better power wise, which means you can run a slightly smaller wire to them. And yeah. Alright, so some assembly required. So here's the main part. Basically, they're removable, so this little clamp here just allows you to position it however you want and clamp it in place. Motor mounts here, belt drive on this large pulley. It's got a handle taped right here that threads into that, so if your motor goes down, your battery power is down, whatever, you can always hand crank. You can assist it. Simple drum, just wrap your line on there. Comes off there onto this arm that's attached up here, and then it's got a pulley on the very end. That's upside down, but it'd be like so. And see, the holes are offset here, so it can kind of tip one way or the other. The way these work is just a simple switch. You turn it on, it reels it up. When it gets to the top, you clear your fish off, and then when you go to drop it back down, it's just got a brake handle right here. So you just crack that, and it just free spools down, hits bottom, you tighten it up, and you're good to go. It's a very basic machine. It's not the fancy DNG that's computerized and jigs for you, and you know, costs a fortune, but are also incredibly awesome. These are just manual, and you know, these will catch a lot of fish too.
Yeah.
An awful lot of fish, and they are bulletproof. There's like, you gotta try really hard to break these things. So excited to have a new set for the other boat. These will be going on the Emerald Isle. So we're just after this bracket right here, so we can go test fit our mount. Let me just break this down real quick. So this is the bracket that we made for the Emerald Isle. It's not welded out, it's just tacked together. So this will just bolt right to our rail. I'm going to take this bracket here, and that'll get tacked on here. These tabs are going to get straightened out. So this bolts to our cap rail, just the rectangular cap rail, and then we have our uprights with our rails coming back this way. Gonna make another tab that wraps around this and then just bolts together right through that space in the middle. Probably have a spacer in there to keep these from wiggling around. Yeah, be a nice, really clean setup. Just a couple of bolts, 2 bolts to put it on and remove it.
It'll be nice.
Yeah. So I'm gonna build up a few more of these today and get these all done, and start putting our jig operation together.
Out in the scrapyard here, looking for, there they are. And this is why we're pack rats. You never know when you may need something again someday. So we only have 3 brand new ones of these. Need a total of 6. So it just goes to show, eventually you'll need that one thing that you saved. There may conceivably be one more of them here in this pile, or 2. I'm not really sure what we started with all that time ago. They've just been they've just been waiting for their time to shine, so here it is. So I know it looks like a junkyard, but all of this stuff has use. So we once had somebody tell us that we're ruining the natural nature of Alaska with all your junk. But I mean, take a look at anywhere down south, anyone who has land, same thing happens. So if you have land, why not use it? We know what we have, and that's what matters. All of it has use.
You're probably wondering what kind of madness is going on here. So this is a ballast for our sodium lights. The reason that I am drilling these holes out, I want to use a 1/4-inch bolt, and so I thought I'd just drill these out. It turns out that they're just full of I think just full of resin. It's kind of weird looking stuff.
Not much metal.
Yeah, I don't think it's actually removing any metal, so that's good. I was a little bit worried about drilling this out, and so it's pretty much just cleaning out the holes of whatever resin they dipped it in. You can see this whole thing's been dipped, and they do that to protect the wire. So this one got a little beat up in transit, and thankfully it seems to be okay. But the reason that I'm doing this is I want to get these moved. We've had these inside, just kind of in a temporary location, until we got some kind of weatherproof housing to mount them in outside. The reason we don't want them inside is that we've actually had one of these burn up on our 400 watt sodium on the fishtail. It was an internal ballast inside the light fixture inside the housing, and it was absolutely nasty looking in there when we opened that thing up. And so really the last thing we want is one of these transformers lighting off inside our cabin. Not only is it a huge fire hazard, but it'd run you out of there like instantly. So this is the board that I had these mounted on temporarily inside. So we were looking for a good waterproof box, and very hard to find one with the dimensions that we needed. It seemed like all of them, we could find some that were long enough and wide enough, but not tall enough. I found these ones on eBay anyways, and so that was super cool. These are from Rose, number 1 or 2, and they're larger size. And so these are really, really expensive. Like, we're talking like $450 expensive, new. I found some on eBay. I think they were $50 each. And with shipping, it came out to $100 each. I can fit 2 ballasts in one, and then the other one will just be a single one. We have 3 lights up there. It's got a nice knife edge here, silicone gasket of some sort there. If you see the bolts here, you can see that they're outside of the knife edge, so that means water won't go in, even if the bolt is loose or anything, or it can't go through this fitting. And then the mounting screws go all the way through the top and out the bottom. I think what we're going to do, instead of having a big long screw going into something, is that we'll tap these and we'll put a threaded stud in them. And then that way we'll just have a threaded stud coming out and we can attach it to a piece of aluminum angle or some kind of upright wherever we decide to mount these, probably back behind the house somewhere. So I just used our vinyl cutter to cut a template. I just laid this out on Silhouette. That's a program that comes with our Silhouette Cameo vinyl cutter. It can cut all kinds of stuff like cork and cardstock, I guess. Thin cardboard. So I just used that and used that as a template. Cut a piece of aluminum. So this will be our base that goes in there, and these will mount to that. I think what I'm going to do is, so I wanted these to be 1/4 inch, and so I can just get some coupling nuts like this. Drill this 4-bolt pattern right here in the bottom. I'll come up from the bottom with a bolt to lock these down, and then I can just set that on top and drop in a long bolt in each one. And that'll make it easy to remove if you ever have to replace the ballast without having to take both of these out. These are very heavy, by the way. These are about 25 pounds each. You want to be able to remove them easily. I'll have to make some kind of mount for these. So in this orientation, they're a little bit thinner than this way. So that's kind of one reason I want to put them up on end. And then with the standoff right there, it'll get a little bit better air circulation around it. That's just the easiest way I can really come up with mounting this without having 2 of these units in there and trying to figure out how to get them into that box. That's what we got. So I still need to cut one more of these from my other box, go round up some standoffs or some coupling nuts, I guess, and some longer bolts, and that'll work real good.
And meanwhile, I'm just over here making some more pad eyes for our staby poles, finish that job up. We went crabbing and tested our staby poles, and as it turns out, as we expected, the forestay made out of 9/16 line was a little too stretchy.
Yep, even brand new crab line, it's stretched enough to pull the stabilizer arm back and luckily
freak us out. And
yeah. It did a tiny bit of damage, but not too much damage, thankfully.
Yeah, it just popped a weak weld that needed redone anyways. It was pretty ugly. And
that never really got finished out.
Yeah, it didn't. So very little damage, nothing we can't fix. So
yeah,
get this done. We went down yesterday and kind of mocked up aluminum pole forestay. So that's what we're working on here.
Yep. So you need to be able to stabilize your arm as they're folded out like this to prevent them from going forward and aft. And normally what you have is just an aluminum pole going forward to the stabilizer pole. And so if you happen to be backing up, it'll try and put it in compression, which will move it a little bit, but not too much. But the main part is when you're going forward, it's pulling back on that pipe, putting it in tension. They're pretty long, so we're going to do a 2-piece one. One will come up about midway to the pipe, and then a second will come down from the top and join in to that second pipe. That should work out good. And you guys will see more, and it probably makes sense as we go along. And Matt made some really nice fiberglass fish for them. We were having a hard time. Well, we were hoping to find a couple of used galvanized ones, just steel ones that are galvanized, but we couldn't find any in that size. They're 26 inches, like wingtip to wingtip. And so there's also like wooden versions of those, and it's just got like a half ball of lead that bolts on the front, and they work really good too.
All right, guys, so we're over here just building some new fins for our stabilizer fish. As you can see, this is the old fin plate. This one's still okay, probably. It's got a crack right here. This is the other side. You can see the nose is busted off, so go ahead and make a new one of that. Basically how it worked, it had the fin coming up through this slot here, like that. And then the back fin here. So pretty simple construction, pretty quick and easy to skill saw up a new plate. and I'm just cutting out the slot there. And we're not sure whether we'll paint this or just run with it. Probably just paint it, but we'll see when we come to that point. For now, I'm just fabricating these and round the corners off with a router. Alright guys, so the other day you saw me cutting these fish out, got them cut out, got these holes bored out, and around here, and this will be where the fasteners come through, or through bolts come through, and that's where the fin comes through. That's where the bolt for the weight comes through, so got them all bored out, gonna fill them with some thickened resin with just chopped up 45 fiberglass in it, and that'll just make a thick kitty hair that has good structural integrity. It won't crack out when you drill through it or anything like putty would. So yeah, that's what we're doing right now. Just got my station all set up here. Unfortunately, we don't have a nice fiberglass cave like we had on the boat, so just doing it here in the garage. I'm gonna pop the door open a little bit and ventilate it in here, and just try and get these done fast. So for now, just gonna get these filled, cover them over with that plastic, and then come back and do actual layup over the top of that. So that's what we're doing. We were kind of on the fence about whether to paint these or to resin them. Ultimately just decided to take the time to fiberglass them in order to just make them last longer and just have the job done. Already put a couple hours into prepping the wood and cutting it and all that stuff, so might as well take the rest of the time to make them last. Alright, so we got each of those slots filled in with some kitty hair, we call it. Pretty much just, it's not actually kitty hair, but it's just fibers chopped up and mixed into some resin with a little bit of microbloons and fumed silica. So that's what it is, just a good little dense mixture of the good stuff. So we put that in all the little holes there. Didn't mix it super hot. Didn't want it like going off, and it'll turn sort of pink purple if it's mixed too hot and get really hot and cook off, and that may potentially damage your stuff. So
yeah, I think it turns off brittle.
Yeah.
Hey guys!
Hey everyone!
Come on in the party tent!
Well, you saw me doing a little bit of fiberglass stuff yesterday on these fish, and it turns out even a little bit of fiberglassing is quite fragrant.
Yeah.
It just saturates everything.
We're still trying to work in there doing some welding and stuff, and yeah, you can't wear a mask if you got a welding hood on. And this year's has been impossible. It's just rainy day after rainy day. Finally got a little break this afternoon. So
Yeah.
looks like Matt's all set up to take advantage of it.
Yep, get these knocked out.
The new cave.
The new cave. Yes.
I was gonna say, could bring that little heater out here too once you get these coated, and then just put it underneath or something.
Yeah, drop those and kind of drape it around.
Yeah.
Mom mentioned that too.
Yeah, that might work, huh?
We'll go ahead and get these rolling, and yeah, two separate layups to do. So do the top side, flip them over, do the bottom. All right, folks. Well, got them done. So we laid it down, 2 layers of 45, 1 layer of CSM mat to finish, and you may or may not have seen the edges were likened to float, like just stick out, because it's such a short piece of cloth trying to round that corner that it doesn't really like to stick to your substrate. So what we ended up doing was lift them up and slap them face down on this piece of plastic, and then we took a stapler and we essentially just treated it like a piece of upholstery, just pulled the fiberglass tight and stapled it all around the edges, and that pulled it up tight against this radius. So it turned out really good. That's one side done, and hopefully this will kick off pretty good tonight, and we'll do the other side tomorrow. So there it is. Good job, T, my staple man.
Good job.
All right, guys. Well, the fish are fiberglassed, and we are just mixing up some gel coat here, and we're gonna get these coated. Turned out pretty good. First we laid up that side, wrapped it around and stapled it, and then the next side we tried plastic wrapping it, but you can see it still lifted away a bit. We're just gonna leave it. There's a good layer of glass wrapping around the other side pretty much, so that little floaty part isn't going to affect anything. Just going to fill it up with gel coat, and if it ever cracks out or anything, then we just repair it. I think it should be pretty good though.
Yep. It'll work for now.
Just gotta get them done, get them into service. We want these, so.
We certainly do.
I always love putting gel coat on though. It's like, feels like the end of a project, which is a good feeling. I forgot to put drip cloth down on this table, but I guess it's just a piece of wood. It'll be fine. Let that gel coat flow right into that crack there, fill it up. So we'll coat this side, and then before we coat the other side, we'll drill out our holes and our slot so that we're actually able to see where it is and place it appropriately.
That is wise.
Right? I thought so too. I feel like I'm doing one of those epoxy tables where they just pour it out on the surface and let it sheet off the side.
Oh yeah.
Oops. Drip. Should use that whole cup. I thought that'd be enough for both fish.
Don't be cheap.
Turns out those cracks take a little bit of gel coat to fill.
Yeah. A little void to fill.
So we use gel coat and flow coat synonymously. Gel coat is the layer without wax, technically, and flow coat is the layer with wax. So you just use it as a generalized term. So this is actually
Flow coat.
flow coat that I'm spreading because I put wax in it already.
This guy.
You put wax in it?
Yeah.
Oh dear. Oh boy, there's a pretty big ridge there. How's that going to affect the aerodynamics?
Hydrodynamics.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking the same thing, but then I thought, well, if those old fish were any indication, then it should be okay. Because they were pretty warped up and beat up.
These will probably last forever.
Probably will, honestly.
I mean, not only the main spots are just going to be the hardware, but you took the time to fill that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really see these rotting anytime soon. Should last forever.
Yeah.
They look good.
Yeah, I'm happy with them.
They do look good.
Pretty excited to have them. Here.
Mix up some more. All right, guys. So here's the finished Staby fish. Kind of showed it in the video, but kind of skipped the end part too of cutting out the fasteners and whatnot. But anyways, that I reassembled it, and you can see on the bottom there, there's about a 24-pound, 25-pound ball or half ball of lead, and that's what pulls the tip down when it's launched like this and makes it plane downwards, which is what you want. We may adjust it to this forward hole to kind of reduce that downward plane a little bit. It doesn't need to be pointed way down, but we'll just see. We'll just move it over to the other hole and see that it still has at least a little bit of down plane. And if not, we'll leave it in that hole. But all in all, it turned out really good. It was a fairly quick project, actually. I would call it quick and dirty because didn't really clean up that lifted edge as you saw. So if we had more time, I probably would have filled that with putty and then just wrapped some CSM around it, but it's perfectly fine. So this is actually after Tanner's now. We did give it a test, as you saw in the footage, and I guess since then we've finished our Staby poles, so we can kind of test them in earnest pretty soon and see that they work. Although I'm sure that'll work great.
Put it in, huh?
Yeah, let's just put it in, man.
How are we even going to tell? It's pretty calm here.
Hopefully it doesn't just break off and go for a final swim.
It's maiden and final voyage.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
How's it feel?
That's some force.
It's tracking well, I'd say.
Yeah.